Ladies and gentlemen, we have all heard reports about Hunter Renfrow's imminent trade, and he has mostly been missing this season so far. Even Hunter Renfrow has had to respond to these trade rumors. He talked about the rumors that have been going on since last year, and he seems to just move past it. The trade deadline is approaching in 2 weeks. We'll find out if this is smoke or if it's fire. The Raiders also desperately need a pass rusher after Chandler Jones' release. We'll look at who they could realistically target. And Jon Gruden has an update in his case. Something is happening next month. Raiders head coach Josh McDaniels is going to face his former boss, Bill Belichick. We will get into the injury report and talk about whose seat is hotter, Belichick or McDaniels. Allegedly, Josh Jacobs brought his own type of date to the Raiders game. Maybe Jacobs and Mark Davis could go on a double date. Let's find out which of these teams will finally score over 20 points in a game. Like and subscribe to this channel, Wi-Fi Willie Raiders, for more content. So Hunter Renfrow is in the news, and we remember a former Raiders head coach who really appreciated Hunter Renfrow so much that even Frank Caliendo had to mention Gruden's love for Renfrow.
I watched something the other night that impressed me tremendously. A guy by the name of Hunter Renfrow. It's pretty spectacular, man.
And real quick, there is an update on Jon Gruden's case. We know Mark Davis did settle with Jon Gruden for the remaining $40 million. It was for an undisclosed amount, but Gruden is still suing the NFL and Roger Goodell for ruining his career and selectively leaking his emails. And now the Nevada Supreme Court is going to hear oral arguments from Gruden's side and the NFL side on November 7th. This was reported by the Las Vegas Review-Journal just today on October 12th. Gruden received a victory in Nevada Clark County District Court, basically saying the case cannot go to arbitration. The NFL did an appeal with the Nevada Supreme Court, and that is what is going to be decided on November 7th, whether or not this is going to go to arbitration, or will Gruden's original victory stand in the Clark County District Court. That the whole world is going to have to hear this case in the public. And hopefully Gruden comes out after November 7th with a big fat dub, and we'll get you the update right when that happens. But Jon Gruden loved Hunter Renfrow. He made the Raiders bigger, faster, and stronger.
We have decided to get bigger, faster, better conditioned athletes. So we have Hunter Renfrow.
Have you ever dealt with headphones that constantly fall out? They sound like crap. They just make you upset. They ruin your mental health. Well, thankfully, I've been able to chill out now that I'm partnering with today's sponsor, Raycon Earbuds. Raycon Earbuds are great for people like me who are editing their videos. They're wireless, so I'm able to, not have any cord in the way, and the quality is great. You can hear what's going on, the background music, the narration. It's also useful if you're just walking down the street, listening to some tunes, listening to a podcast, or sometimes you may be working out at the gym and you want some pumped up music, you want to move around a lot. And by the way, Raycon is turning 6 years old. They got Raycon Home, Raycon PowerTech. They've been expanding over this time. They have a lot to celebrate, and that's why they have a sale on their website where everything is 20% off, and they even have some products that are 40% off. Raycon is making everyday earbuds that have premium high quality audio, and it's 32 hours of battery life, very comfortable to wear, and that's why they got over 78,000 5-star reviews. Hurry now to buyraycon.com/Wi-Fi and use code BIRTHDAY to get 20 to 40% off site-wide. You can click the link in the description below or just use buyraycon.com/Wi-Fi. So check out Raycon earbuds, high-performing audio at an affordable cost. And Hunter Renfrow, ever since Jon Gruden has left, has just not been targeted by Josh McDaniels. 2022, we know he battled with injuries, but even when he was available, he was not part of the game plan. And now we have around the NFL, we have NFL.com, the highest of the high of NFL media, saying that Hunter Renfrow is one of many candidates to be on the trade block right now for the Raiders. We've been smelling it. We've been sensing it this whole time. That is why, like we mentioned earlier, Hunter Renfrow had to respond to some of these trade rumors. He's been brushing it aside, saying that he's just trying to stick to being a good teammate. It got real awkward when Hunter Renfrow even had to defend himself, saying that he's not fighting with the head coach when it comes to the scheme.
I wouldn't say that, I want to paint that narrative that, we were can't say we're fighting, It just takes time to learn offense.
NFL.com is bringing up the reality that against the Green Bay Packers on Monday Night Football, Renfrow played just 19 snaps. Only 30% of the offensive snaps did he play. NFL.com also states that Jacoby Myers was obviously brought in to replace Hunter Renfrow, both slack guys. And even though McDaniels got this guy a contract extension, it seems like he's not interested in using him. It seems like he's still cold to him when it comes to the game plan. In 5 freaking games, Hunter Renfrow only has 59 yards on 6 catches with only 9 targets in 5 games. The Raiders have $10 million worth of guarantees for Hunter Renfrow this year, but next year they have 0 guarantees and about $11 million in cap for Renfrow. It would make sense for the Raiders to move on from this guy, and this is NFL.com saying this, especially if they're not going to use him. We have heard of reports from Diana Rossini that the Raiders are looking for a pass rusher. This is quite obvious given the fact that Chandler Jones had his prolonged absence with the Raiders, his claims about the Raiders, and then was eventually released after being arrested. The Raiders right now are rolling with Malcolm Koonce and Tyree Wilson as Chandler Jones' replacement right now. Tyree Wilson, the number 7 overall pick in the 2023 draft, who don't remind me, was selected above Jalen Carter, who's literally like leading the NFL among DTs at pressures. Well, Tyree Wilson's been struggling. The Raiders knew he had injury concerns. They knew he'd be a project, but it's kind of sad that the Raiders are not confident in the guy taking over after 5 games. The Raiders seem to be admitting this by pursuing a different pass rusher. Perhaps the Raiders could do a player-for-player trade, Hunter Renfrow for another pass rusher. The NFL.com also mentioned Chase Young as a possible guy that could be traded by the Commanders. He's in the final year of his contract right now. You also have Carl Lawson of the New York Jets, who could be a trade candidate. He's not playing that much out there in New York. And obviously the Denver Broncos are selling everybody. Maybe the Raiders could get Frank Clark. I don't think the Broncos are going to trade away to a division rival. The best case scenario and the best thing that could possibly happen for the Raiders right now, if they are going to trade Hunter Renfrow, would be to grab Brian freaking Burns, who could be on the trade block. Brian Burns and the Panthers have struggled on contract talks, and we know that the Panthers have been hungry, trying to get a wide receiver in the trade market. Ian Rappaport talked about the fact that they want a starting wide receiver right now. I think that would be a long shot. Brian Burns is one of the top pass rushers in the NFL, but if the Raiders had Renfrow and some draft picks for Brian Burns, that would solve a lot of problems right now, especially if Tyree Wilson will eventually gain more strength and play more inside. The craziest thing about this matchup between the Raiders and the Patriots is the relationship between Josh McDaniels and Bill Belichick, but not only that, also the fact that both of these coaches are on the hot seat. Now, Belichick is clearly more on the hot seat than Josh McDaniels right now. He's much older, he's towards the end of his career. You've even had reports by CBS that Robert Kraft would be willing to move on from Bill Belichick if things don't improve. And that's actually very crazy for a national media outlet like CBS to report that news about Bill Belichick, that it could really be over for Bill B. The firing odds for Josh McDaniels were higher earlier in the season, but now that they got that win against the Packers, they have some easier games coming up between the Patriots and the Bears. The firing odds have quieted down for Josh McDaniels, despite the fact that Mark Davis looked a little heated during the game last week. It just seems like Mark Davis, especially after his comments last year that McDaniels will be the head coach for years to come, it seems like he's likely to ride this contract out, at least for this year, maybe next year as well. The Patriots have a worse record than the Raiders. They have a worse roster. I think they're clearly going to lose this upcoming matchup, and it's crazy to think that Josh McDaniels could put the final nail in the coffin of his former boss, Bill Belichick. And even though Raiders fans cannot stand Josh McDaniels, it seems like he has an easier schedule coming up. Devontae Adams was practicing today on the injury report. Juju Smith-Schuster does not seem to be available for the Patriots, dealing with a concussion. It is likely he is not going to play, and that is going to make it much harder for a Patriots offense that's already struggling. So even though McDaniels is obviously not doing a great job this year, I think he's going to benefit from an easy schedule right now and pick up a couple wins. And I think he's ultimately going to secure more job security with Mark Davis. And I think Mark Davis overall is a little too scared to pull the trigger. sure probably wants to save some cash. And Mark Davis may be a little happier at these games since he has a new date who he was playing slots with before the game in Allegiant Stadium, and maybe he could double date with Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs allegedly hooking up with a OF girl linked to James Harden. That's a story that's coming out. We can't only focus on Mark Davis's dates, we gotta look at Josh Jacobs' dates too, right guys? Whoa Kinsey, who has 687,000 followers on Instagram, posted a picture of herself at Monday Night Football, at the game, at Allegiant Stadium, even had a nice little apple here that has a Raiders logo on it. She's repping the silver and black. And yes, she has some wholesome pictures on her account, but there are a lot of reasons why she has so many followers, and I'm just gonna say that we cannot show you that on YouTube. But Josh Jacobs certainly has a type, and he seems to be having a great time here. So great of a time that apparently, according to TMSPN, he allowed Whoa Kinsey to even film one of her TikToks inside his kitchen. Apparently, she has seen Josh Jacobs' stoves and pots and pans. So Mark Davis is dating Orianthi, a great musical artist. Josh Jacobs now has an IGOF model. I'm sensing a double date upcoming at Allegiant Stadium. I want to see these two couples push Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce out of the headlines. Let's make it happen, Raider Nation. Shout out to these two lovely couples. Let me know your thoughts on this upcoming game in the comments below. We will be live during the game doing live play-by-play and reaction on this channel, so make sure you turn on notifications so you do not miss it. My name is Wi-Fi Willie. Peace out, and I hope you have a good one.